What's going on, everyone? So the Lebron-Bronny saga continues to unfold. Covered the Bronny James situation. Look, I've been a big defender of Bronny James. I think he has talent. I think he's good enough and will be an actual NBA player. Time will tell. We will see. Recently broke down the Stephen A. Smith with LeBron James, kind of, match, whatever you want to call it. And it's just, Stephen A continues to just spew nonsense, right? Bringing Kobe into it and Dwayne Wade and all this stuff, but just completely ignores the context and then tries to backtrack stuff like, oh, I should have looked into it. LeBron James was at the Kobe situation, but hey, Dwayne Wade, and just completely ignores that Bronny just had cardiac arrest literally 2 weeks earlier. And then the week of the ceremony for Dwayne Wade, they had to go to the hospital for medical checkups, right? But we just completely ignore the context. I did a whole video, did a whole breakdown. I'll link that video down in the description, or just head on over to the channel and you can check it out over there after this video, of course, because the reason I want to touch on this again is because Michael Wilbon, of all people, kind of chimed in. Kind of called out Stephen A. Smith, in my opinion, or at least that was my interpretation. I'm going to read it to you here in a moment, and you can give me your interpretation. But I want to kind of go over what he said, and then, of course, we'll break this down and talk about it. So, again, according to Michael Wilbon, says all the Bronny talk on ESPN is just for clicks, and refuses to discuss him the way other shows do. I have a 17-year-old son, so this matters to me. I am particularly sensitive to it. I do anything for my kid, and I would hug LeBron for what he did for his kid. Again, talking about Stephen A. Smith, right? Again, we'll touch on this here in a moment. There were shows that talked about Bronny every day. You know what shows I'm talking about. I don't care if my bosses get mad. They would try to get Tony and me to talk about it. No, we're not going to do it. They talked about him more than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, right, who is probably winning MVP this year. That's pandering. It's all pandering. Let me be clear. Our business is a piece of shit a lot of days. Beautifully put. Honestly. He's right. He's spot on. When have we ever criticized and spoke in the manner for any player, let alone the 55th pick in the league? Whether you hate LeBron or love LeBron or whatever, there's no denying the only reason Bronny James is getting the hate that he is getting is because his father is LeBron James. And it's ridiculous. So many people talk about, oh, Nepo baby, Nepo baby. Welcome to the world. Hey, maybe you didn't know that. But guess how the world works? It's not sometimes what you know, it's who you know, right? And all these other people are allowed to have success. And yet a father helps his son, who, by the way, people forget, before the cardiac arrest was a top 20 player in the country, was projected to go in the first round, and then nearly died, probably should have never played again, and he's back. And he's killing it. He's clearly better than the G League. And had a great NBA game. The kid has an insane work ethic. He's incredibly talented. He's athletic. If his name was Johnny Brames, no one would care. I mean, people would be talking about, man, that kid, Johnny Brames, man, that guy's really good. For a 55th pick, that guy is fantastic. Who's talking about Riza Shea? Riza Shea just dropped 36. You don't hear anybody talking about him. Who's talking about Alexander Sarr? You don't hear anybody talking about him. Right? Like Wilbon said. They're not even talking about SGA. SGA is like a top 2-3 player in the league right now. Probably winning the MVP. Now let's talk about Bronny. And let's talk about him in a negative light. The guy's not even in the league. Yes, he's on a roster. He's on a team. He's playing in the G League. And we're criticizing him like he's the superstar on the Lakers. Criticizing him like he's LeBron. It's crazy to me that all these people keep coming out. And then, like he said, he's a father. Funny that everyone that in the media that is a father have all came, for the most part, there's been guys like, talking heads and people that are under Stephen A. Smith's payroll, Gilbert Arenas, which it's not my opinion. I mean, Gilbert Arenas said it himself, called him boss. He's like, hey, that's my boss. Like, I got to have his back, right? Okay, if somebody was speaking ill about you and your kid, would you defend that? Again, LeBron's issue is not that he spoke about Bronny as the basketball player. Like, Stephen A. keeps talking about, oh, well, I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about you. That's the point. You weren't talking about him as a basketball player. You weren't like LeBron James or Bronny James is never going to be LeBron James or anything like that. No, you said, I'm pleading to you as a father. You're not a father. Like, that's the problem, is he doesn't get it because he doesn't understand. Right? Or he does understand and he chooses to ignore it, which is even worse. And you have people like Michael Wilbon who credit him. Man, give it up. Right? It's about time somebody says it, speaks the truth, that aren't just like random YouTubers. Right? Said it on national television. Good. It's how it should be. You have all these other people that are in the ESPN ecosystem stuff. Of course, they're going to offend Stephen A. Smith because he's the guy. Right? They don't want to be under his shadow. I mean, look at what Stephen A. Smith did to Max Kellerman. Right? Look at what he's done. He's done to several people. Right? Most people would consider that being a snake. But Stephen A. Smith, hey, Mr. ESPN, right? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the guy keeps just digging his grave and digging and digging and digging. And he thought he was going to get all the Kobe fans on his side because a lot of them don't like LeBron. And everyone was like, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, it's insanity. Right? Like, again, he didn't want to be on camera? I'm sorry. Somebody that he cares for, that he loves, that impacted the lives of everybody. I mean, Kobe Bryant, to this day, it still seems fake. To this day, even if you hate the Lakers, even if you hate Kobe, you felt in that moment. Everyone did. Like, as silly as it sounds, Kobe, it was almost like he's too big. Like, there's no stop. Guys like him, that doesn't happen to. It's too big, right? Like, it just, to this day, it is crazy. And to drag a man that can't speak up and defend himself or clarify or correct something just because for what? Like, what was it? You didn't prove a point. You were wrong. I mean, you even said yourself, you shouldn't have went that direction. Well, you did. And why did you? Because you kept going with it. Shannon Sharp even came out and said, hey, say what you have to say and move on. He keeps dragging it out. Everybody sees it except for him. Why? Because it's the most relevance he has had in years. Last time he was talked about was when he snaked Max Kellerman. And everyone was like, dude, like, that was kind of a shady move. Right? And he tried to justify that and stuff. Right? And it's just, again, like, he's using it because it's attention, his ego. Oh, believe me. He really thinks he's more important, more talked about, more historic than LeBron James. I would love to see Stephen A. Smith give him a spit and a handshake bet that when LeBron retires, you'll still talk about him. I would bet my last dollar that even when LeBron retires, you will hear LeBron James's name out of Stephen A's mouth. You know why? Because at the end of the day, he has bosses. At the end of the day, as much as he tries to talk like he's this big bad guy, if ESPN comes to him and goes, no, you're going to talk about LeBron, guess what? He's going to talk about LeBron. Right? Look, ESPN was fine before him. They'll be fine after him. Right? Like, he's not as important as he thinks he is. He's getting attention right now because he's spewing a bunch of nonsense. And it's great that guys like Michael Wilbon are coming out and saying, like, dude, like, shows, the show, right? I'd hug LeBron and tell him thank you for what you did to your son. Because, again, He took it away from basketball. And the crazy thing is, the sports media has just become this mess. It's continued to move further and further away from sports. Right? I mentioned this in the previous video, right? Stephen A. video. When have you ever seen Stephen A. Smith actually break down film or the game or a player? I'm talking about actual analysis and breakdown. He said himself that's what he does. Said it in an interview. When has he ever done that? When have we ever seen Stephen A. Smith? I would love for somebody to find me that clip. Find me the clip of him actually giving analysis and real breakdown of the game. The guy doesn't know the game. The guy knows the headlines and the drama, and he hypes it up. There is a talking point, and he debates that talking point. And it's usually drama or politics or whatever, right? Like it's usually something that's going to stir the pot and get people, on one side or the other. And look, there's a place for that. There's, YouTube, there's, tea channels and drama channels, all that stuff that make a killing, right? I mean, you can even argue, this video, right? Me talking about this video is, drama video and all that stuff, right? But I thought they were talking sports. I thought that wasn't a drama channel. I thought that was, call me crazy, but I thought that was sports channel. I thought Stephen A. Smith was a sports analysis. Interesting that he just is continuing to move further and further away from analyzing sports. Right? It's crazy to me. Right? Again, look, this is a newer channel. I have a channel, As It Stands Lakers, in which I analyze sports, break it down. And look, I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I'm just some guy. Right? I'm just some guy that has been blessed enough to where people want to listen to me talk about Lakers basketball. Right? But if I can do it and you're making $100 million a year to break down sports and you're not even talking sports, what are you? What are we doing here? Right? It's ridiculous. It is. It's ridiculous. But I'm very glad that you have somebody that even said, I don't care if my bosses are upset. I don't care if they, whatever, say what they want to say. The truth is the truth. Reality is the reality. Right? How you feel about everything else, it's irrelevant. This is the situation. This is reality. So Stephen A. Smith, again, and he's going to talk about it. He's going to milk this till it's dry. I'm sure he'll address the Wilbon thing. I'm sure he'll have that. He probably already has, depending on when you watch this video. And it's ridiculous at this point, right? Bronny James is a 20-year-old 55th pick, and we're acting like he's the number one pick in the draft or the franchise face of the Lakers. Right? He might not ever even be a star or a superstar or anything like that. And that's fine. Not everyone has to be. Not everyone can be a star. Even if LeBron James, right? If you're a Laker fan, I'm sure you're familiar with Gabe Vincent. Even if he just becomes a more athletic, versatile Gabe Vincent, that's huge. Right? If he can be, a starter or a real rotation piece, 3-and-D guard that can handle the ball, initiate the offense, and play some defense. Again, you need the dirty work guys. You need the hustle play guys. You need man number, 3 through 15, don't you? It's not just about your, who's your 1 and 2 star. You need the other guys. It's 5-on-5 last I checked. But again, he's young enough, gifted enough, works hard enough to where who knows where he'd be. I'm not going to put a cap on a young player. I wouldn't do that for any young player. Right? Like, again, you can't call him a bust. He hasn't had time. He's better than the G League. Right? You saw Jalen Trevino is a great example. 17th pick by the Lakers. Bronny James in one game did more than Jalen Hood-Schifino did the entire time. And he didn't get as much criticism as Bronny James has gotten. Why? Because he's LeBron's kid. If he was anybody else, Laker fans and everybody be like, man, that kid's good. That kid might be something. Lakers steal the draft again. Lakers don't miss, right? Like we'd all be hyping Bronny up like he's the next superstar for the Lakers. But he's LeBron's son. So, can't do that, right? Hyping up Bronny, that's not going to get the headlines. Criticizing Bronny will. All the Jordan stands, right? Again, he is a kid. He's a 20-year-old kid. No one's talking about Riza Shea. No one's talking about Sar. I mean, Stephon Castle is more likely than not going to win Rookie of the Year. And he's not even talked about. Like, people aren't even talking about him. He was the 4th pick, Rookie of the Year, more likely than not. And he's not talked about. I mean, they've talked about Bronny James more than they've talked about Victor Wembanyama. It's crazy what is happening, right? And then you have Stephen A. Smith, who just continues to just spew nonsense. It's like this is like we stepped into an alternate reality. It's the Twilight Zone episode, right? For those that are old enough to know what that is, right? Like it's mind-blowing to me. But as always, this is a discussion. Pass question you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Disagree? You kind of mixed in the middle. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, whatever side of the fence are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to the channel, and I appreciate y'all. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.